This is NDTV and you are watching NDTV Prime.
Hello and welcome to Mojarto On Art. I'm Anu Subramanian. This week we're focusing on museums and cultural institutions. In our first story, we ask, should museums be political, and what place do cultural institutions have in resistance? Then, we visit the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi, where Jitish Kallat's mid-career retrospective is on view for just a few more days. If you haven't seen it, then it's not to be missed. Plus, we'll share some upcoming events happening in the art world with you, and we hear a word from Mojarto.com. This is Mojarto On Art. The jazz maestro Nina Simone said, "How can you be an artist and not reflect the times?" That's true. But what about museums? Should they reflect the times? And how? What about museums in a country like India? I spoke with several art experts to find out. Earlier this year, United States President Donald Trump signed an executive order banning entry for citizens from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Now, in response to this order, the Museum of Modern Art in New York, which is one of the most visited museums in the world, created an exhibition where they rehung works from their permanent collection, which are by artists from these 7 countries. The New York Times called this the strongest protest by a major cultural institution in response to this executive order. So on Mojarto On Art, we wanted to know, is something like this possible in India? We spoke with experts from across the field to find out. We know that artists are political and often make provocative statements, but less often we see museums doing it through curatorial decisions.
Where MoMA has had this exhibition with artists from these 7 countries is a fantastic step.
Any country where the political discourse is challenged or is tentative, the creative community is the first to respond. It's like a mirror.
It also, for me, redefined the understanding of political action, because we normally think of politics in terms of, being part of mass demonstration, walking on the streets with placards and so on. But this is a very subtle kind of, I would say, activism, where you are working within the establishment and you're not really stepping outside your professional area. But within that, you think of doing something which really makes your political position very clear.
I think art and politics are definitely linked. Personally, I feel that maybe that was not the right way to go. Museums should not really be a place for protest.
MoMA's response to Trump's executive ban was a unique one. But India has had opportunities as well, says Professor Mukherjee.
In an art institution like the NGMA, it would be unthinkable, right? And I was also thinking of the whole controversy regarding MF Hussain and the whole kind of vindictive campaign against him, in fact, as a result of which he had to leave the country and he had to settle in Qatar. That could have been the ideal moment for a lot of progressive artists, people in the art administration, to perhaps stage such an exhibition. Can you imagine NGMA doing a rehang of their exhibition using MF Hussain's works from the collection? It would be quite unthinkable. I'll tell you one thing, the reason why such a thing happened at MoMA is also because I don't think it's a state institution. It's a private institution.
Most cultural institutions here in India are state-funded. So Kiran Nathar, founder of Kiran Nathar Museum of Art, enjoys a level of independence that most museum directors do not.
Since most of the Indian cultural institutions are state-owned, they are not likely to get into this. It's only a private institution. And the private institutions are very small and nascent at this point. I don't know how confrontational I'd like to be with the government. Where this show is currently on. We had scheduled a Rashid Rana show, but unfortunately I had to cancel that show. The circumstances were that the anti-Pakistan lobby in India was so strong that artists in the film industry, music industry were being targeted very strongly. And I thought if we have a show of a Pakistani artist, we would have tremendous headwinds from the government, and we would open a Pandora's box. So in a sense, I took the easy way out and I had to cancel the show.
Bikaner House is a state-funded cultural institution that provides a platform for cutting-edge, contemporary artwork.
Bikaner House belongs to the Rajasthan state government, but the programming is done completely independent of the government. Whether we do something political or not, the government has no say in it. This idea of keeping the programming away from the government was actually the idea of the Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje Scindia, who wanted to give back Bikaner House give it back to the public.
Some argue that whether or not the cultural institution gets involved in politics, its primary role is to remain a platform or facilitator for artists.
I think art institutions touch very few people. The artist is not dependent. I would like to believe that they're not dependent on the patronage of so-called institutions. I'm not going to go about now poking holes at institutions run by bureaucracies and by customs and by constraints and restraints. I'm talking of the artist. I think the work begins with me and ends with me.
So, could this happen in India?
I would very much doubt it. But now that it has happened, I'm sure it has created a kind of precedent which is going to, kind of provoke people to think along these lines.
And of course that creates ripples, that creates resonances, and dialogues happen. And all this is healthy.
It's Holi season and springtime is here. So hopefully this week is full of color and energy for you. We've brought together some upcoming events, both in honor of the holiday and happening in the art world, so that you can enjoy this time even more. Delhi, on Holi, you can celebrate at Rang Leela at the Friends Republic. It will be serving up total madness with separate levels for EDM music, live dole, and Bhangra performances. Also on Holi is the Unite Music Festival, which is a brand new genre in the lineup of music spectacles in India where EDM meets stagecraft. It takes place at Nehru Stadium. Mumbai, from March 18th to the 19th, you can see Living Traditions, Festival of Assam. The focus is on the musical traditions of Assam, but the event will also include dance performances, food, and music from the region. Bengaluru, the Ras Project is coming on April 1st. In it, performers will be exploring various bhavas, essaying the journey of several characters from the Ramayana. Hopefully you can make it to one of these upcoming events. After the break, we're going to meet artist Jitish Kallat, who's been making really innovative artworks for the last 20 years, and a lot of it has come together at his mid-career survey in New Delhi. Don't go anywhere. Mojarto On Art will be right back.